Hi, this is Mayor Dwayne Warren with an update on the programs that we have here in the city of Orange Township. Today, I am dealing with law enforcement, but from the prevention and reentry side. I have with me Dr. Ferguson. Dr. Ferguson, how are you today?
I'm wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Tell the audience what your name is, what your position is with the city of Orange Township.
Sure. I'm Dr. Darren Ferguson. I have recently been appointed as the reentry coordinator for the city of Orange.
And when you say reentry, that means that someone has come out of jail, prison, probation, parole, and your effort is to do what?
So first of all, to make sure that we provide a safe landing strip for people coming out of prison. And that means that we are, one, counseling them to make sure that they're safe and secure at home, that they have everything that they need, that they feel comfortable in the community, but also that we are providing avenues for them to get employed, avenues for them to get counseling or whatever services they may need to make sure that they don't reoffend.
Now, you have sort of a complicated reporting structure. While you're in the police department, you're still working with the Department of Community Services and other departments where a person in a reentry situation might interact with. So tell me about your external contacts. I understand you're with probation and parole on a regular basis.
So we've been working with probation and parole. Because of COVID, we haven't had all the meetings that we'd like to have. We started meeting regularly with parole, and now we're working with our new councilman, Montague, because he's been doing some of the employment piece. So we've been working with them and working closely with the police director to make sure that people who are being released early because of COVID, that we're in touch with them, that we know who they are, we know where they are, and we can attach them to services if need be.
Now, with your parole, you have access to people who are on parole and coming back to the community. How are you tracking them and how are you interacting with them?
Well, first of all, I get the names of people who parole wants me to work with directly, and then also have access to the names of people who are being released because they come in a letter from parole to the police director, letting him know who's coming home, what their offense was, where they'll be living and stuff like that. So I'm able to contact them, reach out to them, find out. I've already got a caseload of about 5 or 6 people that I'm working with, and there'll be more to come, but people who I've already started working with and meeting with directly, because we really just started meeting with people directly because of COVID. But I have a nice list of folks who are in Orange, who are on probation or parole, that I can work with, and that I have access to if they need me or if I need to get in touch with them.
So procedurally, you are released from prison on parole or probation. You're in contact with the state parole, state probation. They give you a list, or give the police director a list of names, offenses, contact information.
Yes.
And then you contact those people. And what is your message to them?
Well, first thing is to let them know that I'm there as more of a welcome wagon, that I'm not law enforcement per se, that my job is to make sure that they have everything they need so they can be successful on parole, as opposed to finding out what they're doing to make them unsuccessful on parole, and to connect them with whatever services they need. As somebody who's been there and done that, I understand the value of having somebody contact you and say, hey, what do you need? Call me if there's any situation. I've even gone as far as to talk to some of the officers in the Orange PD and say, hey, if you have some of these guys who are on parole or something, call me before you do anything. If it's something small, sitting out on the stoop drinking weed or smoking weed or drinking in front of their house, then instead of making this a big police situation, call me, let me talk to them and find out if we can resolve the situation without it going any further.
Now, how is this productive or helpful to the community at large?
Well, first of all, it's a public safety issue. Reentry is a public safety issue. And in my 20 years of experience in working with reentry, the main things that make people reoffend are people, places, and things. If you come back around the same people in the same places doing the same things, then the chances of you reoffending are very high. If we can interrupt that cycle, if there is one, get them attached to new people, get them doing new things, get them to broaden their horizons through education, through training, and all, then the chances of reoffending become exponentially lower. So what I want to do is make sure that they have a voice, a face, somebody who they can confide in, somebody who's been there and done that and can tell them all the ins and outs, and also somebody who they can feel safe saying, hey man, I'm struggling with this, and I can help them not struggle, because the number one issue is people usually commit crimes where they live. And if they live in Orange, we don't want them to commit crimes. So my job is to make sure to interrupt the cycle of incarceration that some of them have been caught in since they were teenagers.
There is great fervor in the community globally. That was initiated largely by Black Lives Matter and other groups that are concerned with justice, and it drives out of this senseless killing of particularly black people by police. We've started this initiative much before the real hue and cry came, but how is that protest catching up with the work that you're doing now, you have been doing?
I think this is one of the things that made me want to come on board here in the city of Orange is because of the work that you and the police director are doing in terms of thinking about reimagining policing before this whole fervor about defunding the police, which I think is a misnomer anyway. You can't defund the police, but you can reallocate assets and you can shift things around to do things a little bit differently. So in a domestic violence dispute, you can have someone who is a social worker to respond first before police becomes involved. In the case of someone who has been arrested or has a criminal record, I can intervene before police become involved. So I think that the Orange PD is already very, very far down the spectrum in terms of reallocating and reimagining how police work is done. And I'm a part of that and excited to be here.
Now, you come from a background in New York.
Yeah.
You come from a background with personal experience in the criminal justice system.
Yep.
Tell us a little bit about your life story and how you get to this point, your experiences, your education, your qualifications, and so forth.
I turned myself into the police on February 5th, 1990, charged with murder in the second degree and arson in the second degree. Eventually plea bargained to an indeterminate sentence of 6 2/3 to 20 years. Rikers Island, 16 months, 7 years and change in Sing Sing Correctional Facility. While I was in Sing Sing, I engaged in everything that I could to change my life. Achieved 2 college degrees, became a master facilitator in alternatives to violence and conflict resolution, did everything that I possibly could to become a better person. I went to jail when my daughter was 3 months old. I came out 2 weeks before her 9th birthday, and she's now 30. So in my 22 years post-release, I have done everything that I could to give back. I have, in ministry, I'm pastor of Bethel Baptist Church here in Orange, gave back that way, served as the youth director for the National Action Network under Reverend Sharpton, worked with organizations like Graham Wyndham, the Osborne Association, all centering around some sort of reentry or helping people become better people after a crime is committed. So I've dedicated my life to this. This is something that I live and breathe, and that if I was independently wealthy, I would do without collecting a paycheck. Right. Because I love this work, because I am the product of that work. Right. Before there was reentry, 22 years ago when I got out, there were just well-meaning people who said to me, hey, I'm gonna help you out. I'm gonna give you a referral for a job. I'm gonna help you buy your first suit. I'm gonna make sure that your family has everything that you need. And these are the things that kept me from ever even thinking about reoffending, that kept me from even thinking about committing another crime, because not only was it not necessary, but it was something that became opposite of who I am at my core. And I think it always was. It's just the circumstances, poverty, drugs. There are so many factors that contribute to somebody committing a crime. But if you start eliminating those factors with the human factor, love, care, compassion, concern, and then the final element, resources, then people, I believe, are able to come to their true selves, because I still believe in the ultimate goodness of human beings. And if you give them the opportunity, if you give people the opportunity to be their best selves, I believe that they do.
Absolutely. Bachelor's degree from where?
I have my bachelor's degree from Mercy College, master's degree from New York Theological Seminary, doctorate from New York Theological Seminary, and I also have an associate's in paralegal studies, so I have a law background as well.
Absolutely. You come out of prison, you then get involved in this kind of work. Tell me some of the important positions that you've held in your career that prepared you for this moment.
Yeah, youth minister at the Abyssinian Baptist Church, worked for New York Theological Seminary for many years as a facilitator for a program called Youth Turn, which is working with gangs in Harlem in the early 2000s, which was harrowing to say the least. Also, like I said, youth director at the National Action Network. My previous position before coming here is I was the director of Graham Up, which was a raise the age program for 16 to 17-year-old adjudicated youth, a residential 8-month program. Served as director of Graham Wyndham's Beacon program, which is an after-school summer camp program. And higher education. I was the assistant dean of students and coordinator of student engagement at SUNY College at Old Westbury for 3 years. And then most recently, I worked as campus life manager at LaGuardia Community College. So very well-rounded education, reentry, ministry. And I think that all of those things have prepared me for this position now, because all of those things come to bear.
Well, one of the reasons when we started to go this route, to start to look at reentry and to start to look at crime prevention, I wanted a person who had those things, who could draw on. Some people get into something stupid early on, but it doesn't define them. They really wanted to go to school. You have that connection with school. Some people who are addicted and got involved, you have that connection. And those were some of the things that we looked at when we were trying to pick a person. You fit all those categories. And the other things, you work for low pay. That was also important to us. But really, it was the dedication more than money that drew you. And certainly that was exciting for us. I wanted you to bring some of those programs here. Tell us, the police director and myself have been strongly involved in youth programs, building up young people. Tell me what you're doing on that front with young people.
Yeah, one of the things that I was so impressed with is when we talked about this position is talking about not just doing the reentry piece. I have this model that I call Starve the Beast. And the beast model is, you say that on the front end is the mouth of the beast, where things get rendered and eaten, right? And that's our young people, miseducation, poverty, and all of those things. And then they end up in the belly of the beast, prison, right? And then the other end of the beast is reentry. But if you stop things from going in the mouth of the beast, if you starve it at the front, then nothing goes into the belly. So to that end, we have a rites of passage program started right here in the city of Orange in the fall.
Tell me about that.
We're looking forward. We're going to put the flyer out in the next few days. We're going to be looking for mentors to train. We'll have a cadre of young people between the ages of 12 and 17. We'll bring them right here to Parole Street on Saturday mornings, meet from like 9 a.m. to about 1 p.m. We'll do a curriculum over the course of about 9 to 10 months, 3-4 weeks, on everything from social media, education, black studies, comparative religions, health and hygiene, anything that we think that these young people need. And we'll have mentors, people from the community who will serve as mentors. We'll give each young person an attribute, an African attribute that fits them, that we believe fits them. And at the end of it, there'll be a rites of passage ceremony. We hope to march right down Main Street and introduce these young people as new leaders in our community at the end of it. And I think that'll be, that was actually what my dissertation was on, was rites of passage. And I know that it's a wonderful, I've been working with the Rites of Passage program in Harlem for almost 20 years. I did one in Far Rockaway, where I came from when I came here. And it's a very effective tool in prevention. Those young people don't get into trouble. Those young people all go to college. Those young people do amazing things and then come back and give back to the community.
So part of your focus is not just the reentry part, where you've committed offense and you've gone to prison, but your thing is for the other kids who haven't gotten into trouble, to steer them away from trouble.
Every person who goes to prison and we have to deal with in reentry involves a failure somewhere. It involves either a failure to make good decisions by the individual, a failure of systems to appropriately catch this individual before they fall into the system. So we want to deal with, we have to deal with those. We have to deal with the folks who are in the reentry spectrum. But we also have to make sure that we are sending less people into the criminal justice system to begin with. The most effective way to do that, in my mind, from my perch here in Orange, is one, rites of passage, so we can get young people and train them and teach them, and they in turn can teach and affect other young people. And also to do something called credible messaging. to get people in the community who've been there and done that, to be able to talk to young people who might be right on the verge of making a bad decision and tell them, no, there's a better way to do this. Credible messengers can be people who are formerly incarcerated, who can help young people, you know, they may call them OGs and say to them, you know, listen, young blood, don't do that. But you're a credible messenger as well. Your years of work in civil rights and social justice, your position as mayor, make you a credible messenger because you're a kid from the hood too. And you can say to a young person, hey man, this is what I did, this is how I was successful, and this is how you could be successful, because all the same things that were plaguing our community were out there when I was a kid, right. And this is how I got around it. So we want to utilize all of the valuable assets that we have right here in Orange. Civil servants, people who go to work every day, the guy who works for DPW, who's raising the family, the woman who goes to work every day as a legal assistant or a lawyer or a doctor, whoever, and also those people who have been on the wrong side of the law to say to young people, there's a better way.
That's right. That's what it's all about. To parents, some parents don't want to face the possibility of their child or whoever they're responsible for is making a wrong turn. Some say we should just hide it and not talk about it. What do you say to those parents, those adults who are raising children, who themselves may be struggling to make ends meet? They're trying to raise 3 who are going the right direction. There's one who's making the wrong turn. They just can't keep it all together. What do you say to those families?
I'm a Baptist preacher, so it's always a story, right? When I was appointed youth minister at Abyssinian Baptist Church, the critique on Dr. Butts, who's making that decision, was that I was too rough around the edges, that I was actually still on parole, that I had street cred, but I didn't have any, you know, Baptist church credibility. And so I started off just working with the kids in the community, and we have great groups every Tuesday and Thursday. And when they appointed me youth minister, I came in and got a bunch of the teenagers from the church in, and I flashed the gang sign at them, and they all flashed it back. And these were Jack and Jill kids. These were kids whose parents were on the quote-unquote
middle-class family,
upper middle-class families who were doing well. Parents were professionals, and they were like, oh, not my child. Yeah, your child. Right. Every young person who is on the street, and especially now in the age of social media, is acceptable to be recruited by gangs, to be recruited by the underbelly of society, whatever that is, whether it's sex, drugs, gangs, whatever it is. So we have a responsibility as adults to not only intervene, but we also have to intercept, love, teach, and train, and listen. Because one of the biggest critiques that young people have of us is we got a whole lot to say, we got a whole lot of things that we want them to do, but we don't listen. One of the things that the Rites of Passage Incredible Messaging program is set up to do is for us to listen to them and take our cues from them, because whether we like it or not, they're going to replace us. And it's our job to make sure that we have adequate replacements for us and listen to them so that we can prepare the playing field so that they can get on board as well.
How do people get involved in the things that you want to do? It's been my goal, the director's goal, to make sure that we really refine this message, refine our program, and take this model on the road. How do people get involved in the kind of work you're doing and trying to get this model to be not just an Orange model, not just a model for this neighborhood, but a model throughout the city and then throughout the state and country?
I think people should just get involved. Come ask questions. Find out how they can get involved. When the Rites of Passage thing, and when we really open up this spot in Parole Street as the reentry space, the ribbon cutting is going to be a way that we get the message out. I think doing this, having these conversations for the people of Orange to see and hear is a way for them to get involved. And all you have to do is just call, say you want to get involved. They could call your hotline and get in touch with us that way. They could call us at the police station, get in touch with us that way. They can email me, as I said earlier, and we will get you involved in some way. We're going to have, hopefully we'll have some sort of an advisory group that works with us. That'll be community folks, young people, police, law enforcement, fire department, whoever, and is interested in making Orange a wonderful, beautiful place for people to raise their families. That's what we want. That's what we all want.
I don't want to intrude on your personal time, But they can also contact you at Bethel Baptist Church.
Bethel Baptist Church.
You're there Sundays. You have
we're
there Wednesdays.
Yep.
You have office hours there.
Yep.
And you're here, so you're in the community to be found.
So actually, right now I'm at Bethel in the mornings to open up because we're doing the YWCA Summer Campus House there. So I'm there in the mornings. I'm in and around the city. I'm not hard to find. And listen, I don't mind giving y'all my personal cell phone, 917-330-1329. You can call me on my cell phone, text me. I'd be glad to get involved in anything, to talk to people, to get the message out, because that's what I'm here for. I really feel like I've been assigned to the city of Orange. I've been assigned to you, and I've been assigned to the police director. I've been assigned to this community to culminate the work that God is committed to my hands.
That's all right. Well, Reverend, you are married.
Yep.
You have 2 children. One child.
Well, a daughter and a dog, but.
And your wife is from where?
My wife is from Harlem as well, by way of Mississippi and Rochester. We live together up in Teaneck with our daughter. We are, and my daughter's 30. She's serving, working with the YWCA Summer Camp at Bethel. We are at Bethel every Sunday morning. We have not reopened our church yet, but we're broadcasting live from there. They can go to www.wearebethelbc.org to see our services at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. I'm on Facebook. I'm easy to find. Darren A. Ferguson on Facebook and Instagram, Twitter. Ferg Songs, FERGSONGS. I'm always trying to put things out there educationally. I like to make people laugh, because I'm from the Richard Pryor era. Richard Pryor said, you make people laugh, and while their mouths are open, you stick the truth in. So we make people laugh. I sing.
You're an artist?
Yeah, I sing, play instruments. Been doing that all of my life, and still love to do it, and still do it as much as I can. I'm not the greatest singer in the world, but I love to do what I do. And I want to bring every talent, every bit of education, every certification. I'm an offender workforce development specialist. I have had the great pleasure of chairing a meeting at the White House during the Obama administration on criminal justice and reentry. And I want to bring all of that here to Orange. I live in Teaneck, but my heart's here in Orange. And just in 2 years being here, I fell in love with this city, fell in love with you. You, sir, are one of the greatest public servants I've ever met, because you have a real heart for this. And I am honored to be on board with you, our police director, and the people of Orange.
It is our pleasure. What are you reading right now?
What I'm reading right now is The Divided Mind of the Black Church by Raphael Warnock, who's my friend, my Abyssinian brother, who's down at Ebenezer Baptist Church in Georgia. And I'm also reading again The Black Christ by Kelly Brown Douglas. Excellent book.
There you have it. This is the city of Orange Township. I'm Mayor Warren, coming to you live on Parole Street at Central and Parole at the police substation, interviewing Dr. Ferguson, who is doing reentry for the Orange Police Department, and just to talk about what the program is going to be about, some of his talents and skills, what he has coming up in the future, and ways for you to get involved. Contact him, get involved around this whole issue of safety in our community, looking after our young people, and then making sure that when people return home from an experience in prison, that they don't go back again. That's what it's all about. Here in the city of Orange Township, even during the pandemic, we're making sure we reach out to the community, because together we can beat the coronavirus.